What is good, ladies and gents of YouTube? Welcome back to the Terran tutorial. My working up guide is continuing. I know it's been a very long time and I am so sorry. I had a lot of stuff going on. The full story is on my second channel, but here's the synopsis for those of you who haven't been, paying attention. No, I did not quit. No, I did not give up on this series. Boom, we got to gold on the European ladder. This is the third time I've done it using only that 15 gas expand, so ta-da, it is possible, and now we're there when we're playing. I'm actually playing only on North America right now instead of the European ladder because of internet situation. I have just very, very slow internet right now. So where have I been? I've been attending university. The reason I stopped the series was because I was in a 19 credit hour semester at university. I also worked part-time at night. I had no time to play, and I'm very sorry. But I wasn't going to put low levels of effort into this. I wasn't going to just shove a video out there just to get it done. I want to make sure I'm doing this right and trying to give you guys accurate information. With that said, know that I am just a platinum player, and I'm just trying to share my personal opinions. What I say could be wrong, and you can disagree with it, and that's totally fine. I'm just putting this out here for you guys. I'm trying to be honest and sincere. So if you're still patient and you've been waiting around, you're like, yes, thank you. I want to thank you for your patience. So here we are in gold. Not to waste any more time, I'm going to be doing one build per matchup, well, two technically for Terran because Banshee opens are really fun. In this video, we're going to be looking at the Marine Hellion expand. I'm going to do an audio build of it so you can check it out in this video, and then I'm going to show you replays from this season as well as previous seasons. So you'll have to forgive me since I'm in the process of moving. I just finished school. I'm working. I don't have a huge amount of time to play, and for me to teach effectively, I want to use some replays from previous seasons of me playing, most of which are from the Platinum ladder against high plat and diamond players, to show these builds do work. I think when you get to gold, it's very important that you actually are playing the matchups and you're learning a build specific for each matchup, because if you're just using the 15 gas expand, yes, you can do that. Yes, it's a good butter knife, but it's going to get harder as you start playing harder and harder opponents. In this video, I'm going to do the audio build like I said, but one of the things I want to encourage you is down in the description below is Gillyweed SC2's audio build guide of this build. She did it a while back and she makes really good audio build guides. I don't want to take any viewership away from her, so if you're just going to practice this build, please, I would encourage you, support her videos. Go and practice this build off of her audio build guide instead of mine. And then in the second half of this video, I'm going to go over 4 or 5 games, some replays that I've played out, talking about this build and talking about the different ways you can play it out. So I will see you in the audio build guide. You want to load up an AI game on King Sejong Station. I do believe that's what I'm playing it on, or it could be on any map, doesn't matter. Then pause the game when you get into it. I will give you a 5-second countdown. Also, down below, I will include, I guarantee you, a text file of the build order, and it's short, don't worry, as well as the replay of this build order. So if I go F5, here we go, Innovations, Hellion Marine Expand, and you can check it out there and watch it and do all the stuff you want to do with it. But thank you guys for being patient with me. This is sort of a long video, so strap in. No music. I listened to some feedback. There's no music, so you guys can listen to your own music while you watch this. And yeah, thanks for staying patient with me. I do appreciate it. The build will begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, begin. Build an SCV. This is the build order for Innovations Marine Hellion Expand. This is a 15 gas build. You get a factory off of 1 gas. Build an SCV. Is a very flexible build that's, as I said earlier, very similar to the 15 gas expand from the silver videos. Build an SCV. This build can transition into both bio and mech play fairly well. Set the rally of your CC to your wall and queue an SCV. You should be at 10 supply. Build a supply depot at the top of your ramp. Build an SCV. Build an SCV. When you reach 150 minerals, build a barracks. Build an SCV. Set the rally of the worker building the barracks to your opponent's base to scout. Queue up an SCV. You should be at 14 supply. Set the rally of your command center to one of your gas geysers. When the 15th SCV comes out of the command center, build a gas. Queue up another SCV. Your gas should have just gone down. Queue up another SCV. Begin a marine. Set the rally of your command center to your wall off, and when this SCV finishes, start an orbital command. Put 2 workers into gas. Begin an orbital command and start a supply depot at your wall. Queue up another marine. The SCV building the supply depot at your wall should have his rally set down to the low ground if you want to expand on the low ground, or set him back to the mineral line if you're going to expand in your base. Drop a mule and start an SCV. Begin a reactor on your barracks.
Your forces are under
Halt
attack.
SCV production until you have 400 minerals. At that time, begin a command center. Resume SCV production. At 100 gas, begin a factory next to your barracks at the wall. SCV should be continuous. When the reactor finishes, build 2 marines.
Add-on complete.
As soon as you have 100 minerals, build a depot. Build 2 more marines. SCVs should be continuous. Drop a mule. You want to make sure that the energy on your command center is nice and low. When your factory finishes, build a starport. Swap the factory with the barracks. That way you can have a reactor on the factory. Start an orbital command at your natural and begin 2 Hellions. You can transfer 6 workers down if you have no fear of early pressure. Build a supply depot. SCV should be continuous. Build 2 more Hellions.
Upgrade complete.
Scan your opponent when your natural command center finishes. Adjust accordingly. Start a medevac when the starport finishes. And that, my friends, is the opening. You can either play this out bio, if you want to play this out bio tank, get a 3rd command center in your base, and then get 2 more barracks. You can put your initial barracks back on the reactor to start building marines 2 at a time. You can get a tech lab on the factory if you would like to build tanks to stop early pressure. If he's going to be doing banshees, you're going to need to get a raven and a viking, or an NG bay with turrets, 1 per mineral line. This will slow down the amount of Hellions that you will have. This 1-1-1 building group is incredibly flexible. Like I said, if you want to play this out bio tank, follow up with a 3rd command center in your base, followed by 2 more barracks, both of which you'll put tech labs on, 1 for combat shields and 1 for stim. If you are worried that your opponent is going to hit you with mid-game timings, if your opponent did a 1-rax fast expand, then you want to get a tech lab on your initial barracks right away, because you need stim pack to hold that stuff off. So your choices if you're going bio tank are the 3rd CC in base before your extra 2 barracks, or you can get the extra 2 barracks before that 3rd CC if you're worried about mid-game pressure. I'm going to say 95% of the time, you'll be just fine getting the 3rd base before the extra 2 barracks. Now, If you want to play this out the 4GG style or go play this into mech, you follow up with a third CC and 2 more factories. You want to get double engineering bays as well as getting up to 4 gases. That's the same with the biotank route. So if you want to play this out biotank, third CC, 2 more racks, 2 NG bays, and 3 and 4th gases. You can get 1 NG bay if you want to pump out more Marines and more tanks quickly. It's really up to you. This 1-1-1 building group gives you all the tools you need to shut down early pressure. If you fear Reapers, you need to position your Marines on the high ground, that way you can stop them. If he does a 2 racks Reaper all in, you'll have Hellions out in time to stop that kind of a pressure. If he does a tank push, you need to get a tank of your own as well as a Viking. If you don't feel like pushing across the map with an aggressive play with the early medevac, get a Viking instead. A Viking and a tank will shut down a lot of front door pressure. So here we are in a Platinum game from the North American ladder that I played. Yes, this is a previous season, yet the concept still applies. My initial SCV was able to get inside of his base and see that he opened with a gas. Notice that I'm leaving my SCV inside of his base to see if he got a Reaper to start or if he ended up getting a Marine to start. It's absolutely crucial that you find this out. If your opponent has walled off, you leave your SCV at the wall off to find out if there's Reapers coming. If there are Reapers coming, you need to get your Marines on the high ground, and you want to expand on the high ground. You don't want to expand on the low ground. He'll be able to harass too easily by killing the SCV on the low ground. Make sure your Marines are positioned on the high ground. You have to hold out until you get your Hellions. In this particular game, I'm going to pause it and show you what he's doing. He hid the second racks from me, so this is a 2 racks Reaper open. This is still quite common in TvT. Why? It's just a very aggressive start, and if you don't know how to shut it down, you'll be frustrated, and it'll end the game quickly. So what's going to happen in this is I'm going to continue with the build as normal. I'm getting my factory just at the normal timing. But you should be super stoked if you see this happen in a game, because if he invests into more than 2 or 3 Reapers, that is your cue that you get to do a massive amount of free damage, a follow-up pressure after holding off the Reapers. I'm going to fast forward here until he shows up. Notice how I'm positioning all my Marines at the high ground, and here comes 3 Reapers. 3 Reapers versus 4 Marines, if they're microed correctly, can win, but the point is we're just buying time for the Hellions to come out. Once we have Hellions that pop out, we're all safe and sound. Even if he does open with this very aggressive 2 racks Reaper, you're just fine. You should be able to last and not lose a lot of stuff. If you are really scared and you're not confident in your micro, then you can put a bunker in your mineral line. It will slow down the initial Hellions, and I probably wouldn't recommend it. So I'm going to fast forward. My follow-up choice with this build was to get 2 extra racks because I want to do a lot of follow-up pressure. So as I noted earlier, if you want to play this out bio, you could have gone a 3rd command center, then the 2 racks. In my case, I wanted to get the 2 racks, that way I could follow up and hit this guy with some really hard mid-game timings. I really want to make him pay for the fact that he invested into those Reapers, and he really didn't get much use out of them. Now that the Hellions are out, there's really nothing our opponent can do to stop us, so I'm going to float my CC down to my natural and start transferring forces. My Hellions are able to quickly and easily clean up the Reapers, and what I can do is I can just keep producing Hellions. My choice in this game was to delay the starport for this bio, for this really hard follow-up push. And I'm going to go across the map now with my 6 Hellions because he's invested a lot of money into that early push. And it's going to be very easy for me to just go roast some SCVs. So as you can see, it's taking him a long time. He played a very greedy follow-up. Since he wasn't able to do any damage, he followed up with 6 racks, and I think that is fairly silly of him to do, yet, maybe it was a last-ditch effort. He hoped I wouldn't. Even if he wasn't building this many racks, you guys, he's not going to have enough early-game units or a wall-off or, anything that is really going to be able to stop your Hellions from getting into the base. And now we get to see something every Terran player should love, a nice barbecue of SCVs. So he just lines them up too easily. Even if I lose these Hellions, I mean, if we look at the units lost, that's 22 workers killed for 6 Hellions. That more than makes up for the fact that his expansion's late, his opening didn't pay off, and we're going to come into the mid-game just so far ahead. I'm following up with double engineering base. Notice I've gotten my third and fourth gases, second, third, and fourth gases, so this is a gas-heavy build. I've got now my starport done in case I want to, and he ends up just leaving the game right then and there. Alright guys, here's another game from the Platinum North America ladder. This is basically a TvT on a really huge map. The first place that I push out with my forces is his third base. I end up going into his main. Since this is such a large base and you have medevacs in TvT, you can sort of abuse that. These drops are not necessarily to do a lot of damage, but mainly to get armies out of position. So as you can see, he's got a very nice defensive stance going. This little harass is just to get him out of the way, and it lets me then move my troops into an area where I can siege up below his cliffs and maybe do some damage with tanks or whatnot. So you see my forces, and I'll go back home to show you what I'm doing here in a second. Back home, this is the standard way you're going to play it out. After you've got your original building group, we went up to a third command center, and then we followed up with our 2 more barracks, bringing us to 3. After that, we get 2 more barracks, bringing us to 5, and then finally we'll get 4 more, bringing us up to 9 barracks in total, with 1 factory. Once you're on 3 bases, you can of course get a second factory if you would like. I would not advise getting more than 2 factories until you're on 4 bases, because it's very gas expensive, and if you're not playing this out mech, you probably don't need that much tanks, and you shouldn't be throwing tanks away as well. We have 2 engineering bays that are both researching 2-2 right now. Notice infantry upgrades are quite a bit delayed in comparison with the 15 gas expand, which is a very upgrade heavy style of play. I have no workers in that gas, and I don't quite know why, but what he's doing is he's very defensively postured right here, and TvT is such a volatile matchup that if they don't have all their bases, like not bases, but like bases with an eye covered, you can really take advantage of that. So I scan up. One of the things you really want to note here is in TvT, we wait until we have 3 tanks, 2 to 3 tanks, and that's our point to move out on the map with this build. So once we have 2 to 3 tanks and our nice little bio and a few medevacs, that's when we push out on the map. I pushed out on the map when I had 2 tanks. Well, it's a really big map, and I figured that I could probably get away with it. But once we reach that point where we push out on the map with the army, we start saving our scans. We don't drop mules religiously as we did in the 15 gas. We have to have scans available because TvT is all about keeping track of where your army is. He does not keep track of where my army is, which is why he's going to lose the game. If you scan ahead and you see tanks out of position, or if you see tanks sieged up, or if you see his armies in one place, you attack another place. It's kind of like Terran versus Protoss in that mindset where if you can't directly attack into him, you want to attack where he isn't. That forces this guy to move his units a lot, and if they're uncomfortable with control, it's going to slow down all of the stuff that they want to do back home in terms of expanding and all that jazz. So I scan up, I see his army is way out of position, not ready to defend a doom drop, and I've got my infrastructure back home. I'm powered up, I've got a lot of minerals, and I have the ability to reinforce an army if I were to lose it badly. So I'm going to load up all my stuff because I don't want to just bash into 4 sieged up tanks. That doesn't sound very fun to me. And I'm going to go drop. And that drop is going to force him out of position, or it's going to have to force him out of position if he wants to end up saving some units. He, in turn, doesn't really move the tanks. I can keep rallying my units over here if I like. It's really important to note in TvT that I wouldn't recommend setting your rally to across the map. I would recommend keeping your rally point back here at home. That way you can come back to this location. I like to set a hotkey where my rally is. That way I can just hit my army hotkey, hold shift, and grab the units and then go back to my fight. The reason we don't want our entire army across the map is because TvT can turn into base trade scenarios so fast. If he had a drop over here and I have no army units even remotely close to my base, I can lose the game very quickly. So don't ever let your entire army exist across the map. Don't ever let home be just completely naked and defenseless, because you will get dropped by better Terran players. You have to be prepared for it. Drops are not for damage 95% of the time. They are to get you out of position. That's why they're so stinking good, is because it gets your opponent way out of position. So I'm just going to fast forward here. My army cleaned up his bio, not a big deal, waiting to reinforce and get a little bit bigger of a bio army. And once I have a big enough bio army, I can stim into this and take it. But it's important to note I am not going to overcommit and stim into something that I don't want to before I need to. So I now scan ahead. Notice saving scans is everything. I have my 2-2 done on my bio. They're unupgraded tanks, and I'm sorry for the Manor Mules. I feel bad, but I don't know. Maybe it was next. Anyway, and that's the game right there, you guys. Alright, so here we are. This is a game on the North American ladder, again. I love the Craft Stars logo that they let you have. So, anyway, this is a losing game. The guy I was playing is an 11 times Masters, and he played very well, but this game ends quickly because I made the wrong scouting decisions. And so I wanted to show this to you and explain what you do in the case of an early tank push. If your units are across the map doing Hellion pressure or trying to pressure his base, and he shows up at your front door and you're completely unprepared and he's got tanks, you're going to take massive damage. You're going to sustain massive, massive damage. So you have to use your 1-1-1 building group properly. So he scans, and I scan him as well. So when I scan him, check out what it reveals. I see a barracks, and I see a factory and a starport finishing. I should have looked closer. You can actually see the factory is building something. That's crucial. Had I had really paid attention and seen that the factory is building something, I would not have made the mistake that I do in this game. If he is going to build tanks, we can safely assume that this kind of opening, this 1-1-1 opening, is not to get a defensive tank. No, it's to go across the map and do a bit of pressure, maybe try and contain me in my base. So there is a proper response for that, and I'll show it in a moment. But I end up not really caring and making the right choice. So here's my original units. I'm missing a couple of Marines because they're out here at the watchtowers. I really want to make sure that I have good map vision. You'll notice here that loaded up are my 4 Hellions. Here comes his push. This is a medevac, a tank, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's a very similar opening to what we did. But check it out. Let me see if I actually see that in the vision of the tower. Had I had seen this in the vision of the tower, I might have made the right choice here. So I really want to go to my vision here. Let's keep an eye on the minimap in the lower left-hand corner. See if he does. Look at that. Look at that. So this is why you need to pay attention to the minimap. I could have seen it. That would have been more than enough to do what I needed to do. So I dropped my Hellions. They're across the map. And we're lining people up. There's a tank and a Marine and all that stuff. But check it out. The bros are here and they're at home. He's got the medevac and he's got the tank. I'm going to GG right away because the only way for me to continue this is if I was... Okay, so let's play this out. If I saw this, and if I was a smarter player and I wasn't impatient, I think at the time I had to leave for dinner, so I was like, I don't want to play a freaking 30-minute game, now I'm super behind. So I got mad. Don't get mad, guys. If you're sitting down to play StarCraft, be ready to win no matter what. So hit E here, and I'll show you this. You would lift your natural CC. You would come and land that natural CC in your main. You'd move your SCVs up to your main base. What you would then do is swap out the tech lab that, or you'd get a tech lab basically on the factory as soon as possible. You'd want to get a tank of your own here on the high ground, and you'd also want to get a Viking. Had I had made the right choice when I scanned him and I saw the tank being built, what I would have done is I would have opened with a Viking. I would have then worked towards getting a tank of my own, and it would have completely shut down all of this aggression. If I have 1 or 2 tanks right here and 1 Viking, this is stopped, and I am in a nice place, and we're both entering the mid-game fairly even, except I have some nicer tools coming into it, and I didn't waste the time of going across the map. My Hellions killed 8 units, but that's not enough, especially if I'm going to lose all this mining time at my natural, and I'm going to sustain heavy economic damage. The reason I GG'd is because right here, I'm so unprepared, there's no chance that I'll get a tank up in time. He was a smart player. He would have gone up the ramp. He would have eaten apart all my bros right here. I also bought a 3rd command center, so I made the wrong reads, okay? I played this out the wrong way. I would have gotten a tank and a Viking. We would have been set. So keep that in mind, that this 1-1-1 building group, it's super flexible. It can stop everything, but you have to make the right choices to do so. And in this game, I didn't. GG, well played to the opponent. All right, guys, I want to show you something really important. This is a good TvT. This guy was a really good TvT player. Wow, this guy was a great Terran player. I leave my SCV at the wall here. You definitely want to do this. This is very, very important because this influences whether you expand on the high ground. It influences whether you put your Marines on the high ground, and it can save you the game. So you want to find out if he's opening with a Marine or a Reaper. He opens, in this case, with a Marine, so I don't have to be too terribly worried. He then goes for a late Reaper, which is kind of a unique choice. I'm not sure why he did that, but that influences my decision. Since I basically saw the Marine. I could have had the option to put my guys on the low ground, which is in turn what I'm doing. Had I had seen a Reaper coming out, these bros then need to be, of course, waiting up here on the high ground. To be safe, I expanded in base. It's very smart to expand in the base in terms of just consistently not wanting to have silly stuff happen. Like, if you expand on the low ground, Reaper comes in, kills the SCV, your Marines try and, kill it right here. Reaper goes in the base, and then annoys, and you're just frustrated. It's a whole lot cleaner and easier if you just leave the bros back home. So I'm going to fast forward here just a little bit to when his Reaper shows up. And he's actually going to be bringing 1, 2, 3 Reapers, which is quite a bit later in the game. I don't have to worry too terribly much because, check it out, by this time I have my 2 Hellions out. Hellions are wonderful for killing Reapers. Reapers are horrible against Hellions. So it's kind of a decent investment of gas. It's 150 gas right there if you think about it. And he's playing a 1-Rax fast expand, style of play, getting a factory. His upgrades are going to be quite late, it looks like. Still messing around with the Reapers, no big deal. I don't have to go across the map and do the normal pressure that you would with this build then. So you don't really have to worry too terribly much. I'm sort of sloppy, so he ends up getting another SCV kill, something that he probably shouldn't have had happen, but it's okay. So as you see, you do not have to do pressure with this opener. It can be used defensively, but do note that if your opponent does like a 1-Rax fast expand, Wings of Liberty style, which is where it's a gasless expand, he's going to have the advantage in the mid game. So you do kind of want to get pressure done against that style of player. So he's leaving his Reapers over there. Interesting. Wonder if he's going to run those back in. I end up loading up my initial Marines. Well, 4. No, it's at 6. Yeah, 6 initial Marines. And I still want to try and get some pressure done and see what he's got going in his base. So I come into the base and I see an SCV. I get 1 SCV kill. What I want you to note here, I'm going to switch targets very specifically to the tech lab. I see the tech lab is researching stim. Since he opened up Reapers, his stim is going to be delayed, just kind of like my stim is delayed. If I can get a pick off of this stim, it's going to be absolutely huge, and as it turns out, I do get a pick off of the stim. It's lovely, it's better than any SCVs, and I'm going to have stim pack way before he does, which is a huge advantage in TvT. I end up flying my medevac down here. I see that he has indeed expanded, just kind of annoying him, and then I'll bring the bros back home. Okay, back home. Is that rain? I think it's raining outside, guys. Back home, my choice was to get a 3rd command center, but note I got my 2 barracks as a follow-up faster. The reason I got the 2 barracks before the 3rd command center is because I figured, hey, this guy's playing a 1-Rax fast expand style. He only committed, like, probably 150 gas towards those initial Reapers. That's not, like, a whole lot, and I want to be prepared in the mid-game for this guy to hit some pretty gnarly timings. Notice my stim pack is almost done. If we look at the production tab, he doesn't even have stim pack started. He's just now rebuilding a tech lab. So that's a big time advantage for me here in the mid-game. So I'm going to fast forward again. Right now, this is all standard. You're just going to continue building Biotank. I like playing Biotank better than Mech. Mech is pretty challenging. Oh, second, third, and fourth gases, obviously. 1-1 is on the way. It's just delayed. We look at the time on the clock. 1-1's only halfway done, and we're at 11:30. We're holding the towers. Holding watchtowers is a very important thing. Vision is so important. Map control is so important. Comes over here to try and start some hidden expansion. Because I had map control that was easy to pick off, he did cancel it, which is no big deal. And he's got a 3rd base finishing. My 3rd base is done. It's going to be done before his orbital's done, so I'm going to be able to float that out and take care of things. My 2nd tank is here, and pretty soon we're going to move out onto the map. Notice how I'm starting to, well, not now, but once I move out on the map, I'm going to be saving energy for scans. I'm taking my 3rd base. I took an aggressive 3rd base. This is up to you guys, really, on maps. I've heard the philosophy that you want to expand along the line of reinforcement. So if I'm going to be going and attacking him over here, you'll notice to reinforce, I'm going to be driving this direction. That's the way my units are going to go, which is pretty close. Whereas if I expand here, if he's attacking over here, for my units to go left to right, there's no really attack along this line. So it's really just up to you. Since I had stim early, feel like I have the ability to be aggressively stanced and postured like so. I left my medevac across the map. That way when he landed his 3rd base, I could get it to lift up and waste. He's not mining right now, basically. My 3rd base is down. He's not mining. So just something to note. You can leave the units out there if you like. And when we get our 3rd tank out, we should be moving out on the map fairly soon. So I'll keep fast forwarding here. I end up not waiting for the... Well, there's the third tank. He's a little bit late. And we're going to start scanning ahead on everything. So here you'll notice here comes the first fight. If we switch to my vision, I stim my units up. I believe I have stim before. No, he has stim now too, I guess. My apologies. We're both on 1-1, so it's a similar upgrade fight, but I just have more bio and medevacs in terms of this situation. I'm not going to run up the ramp because I don't know what he has. As it turns out, I may or may not have been able to go up there and win. It's a dangerous gamble, though, right now because I don't have the production back home that I need. Instead, I opt to go and attack his third base and make sure that he's not mining there. Back home, everything's very standard. I'm on 5 racks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a standard thing. You should know that if you watch the silver videos. I'm continuing to build tanks. I don't know why Widow Mine's queued up. And then I bought 4 more barracks, bringing me to a total of 9. I can buy a second factory if I want, and I should be buying a 4th base fairly soon. That way, you don't want to start playing StarCraft like a 3-base all-in style. I heard that told to me once from All Things Terran, the Reddit page, and it really stuck with me. If you just sit on 3 bases and continue to throw like tons and tons of units at your opponent while you just sit on 3 bases, you're doing a 3-base all-in. You're not expanding. Check it out. Remember when I said to leave units at home? Well, I just pulled a lot of units. I just brought everything basically across the map, which is a mistake because we always need to have enough units at home to be able to defend some drops, because this is Terran versus Terran and you should expect drops from better players. So he's going to have a drop coming in. I'm doing a little skirmish over here. I'm just trying to make sure that he's not mining on this 3rd base as long as possible. In comes his drop. I also have a drop of my own which is going out, so it's kind of a multitasking thing. I've got enough units here that I can now safely defend this. That gets ripped apart by some really well-placed turrets and me not paying attention. My units are postured across the map. He's scanning me because he knows what's up. This is TvT. I finally clean up the drop back home after he did a nice amount of damage. My 4th base is on the way. He has a 3rd base, or excuse me, a 4th base trying to go down here since this base has been useless. He hasn't been able to like mine over here hardly at all. That's been my goal. So I scan ahead, and I see that his army is here. This is why we save scans, and this is what I wanted to tell you. Where his army is, we attack where it is not. So where is his army not? It's not over here, so we're going to come over here and attack it. Even if this gets canceled, which it does not matter because it forces him out of position. It forces him into a place that he doesn't necessarily want to be in. He's smart. He leaves a unit there waiting to see when I take my 4th base. So I scan ahead, and I see that I can take this fight. I have way more tanks. And even if I trade poorly right here, which I kind of am, it's not a huge deal, okay? It's not a huge deal. I'm still keeping him from mining. I did a drop. This attack was not, like, for nothing. I should have shown that during the fight. But the reason I traded all of those units right there is because I brought in a double drop to kill his 3rd base, which sets him back even further. That means he's been stuck on 2 bases for a long time. I've been on 3 bases for a long time, and I'm about to float my 4th base over. Notice leaving the rally here at home is super important because when he comes in for a counterattack, I can just swing over and, you know, take it from him right there. That does no real damage to me. At this point, it's just take my 4th base. He's money starved. Upgrade-wise, he's on 2-2, and I should be on 2-2 as well. I think... Where are we here? Yeah, my 3-3 is about to pop, so I'm going to try and take a fight, and hopefully my 3-3 finishes before his does. If you look in the timing, we're both going to have 3-3 finish virtually at the same time, so it doesn't really matter. I stim up. I'm going to take this fight because I just have too much stuff. I've been on too many bases for a longer time, and I've been able to reinforce more effectively. I understood the fact that I was on more bases, I had more money, and I could trade more effectively, essentially, than my opponent could. So I'm going to, you know, basically regroup and finish the game. That's going to be basically the match right there. And this guy was a really good Terran player. I think he gives me the Korean GG, like the WW or whatever those letters are. And I had a lot of fun. So hopefully this game gave you an idea of what this looks like. It translates into a really standard Terran versus Terran game. This build is really flexible. The potential is there to be 100% safe from all early game options from your opponent. It also puts you quite a bit ahead economically if your opponent opens the Banshee opener. It's not a ton, but it's enough to make some decent timings around the 11-minute mark or the 10-minute mark. So the weaknesses are early tank pushes, and you also have really delayed combat shield and stim, as well as your infantry upgrades are really far behind because we get our initial tech group of 1-1-1 to start things out. Okay, Since upgrades are so delayed, you can't afford a miscalculation, as I showed earlier. If he's going to do some pressure and you botch it, you're probably going to lose the game right there and then. And opponents who just do a gasless 1-rax fast expand will be really hard to deal with in the mid game. They're going to hit you with some nasty stim combat shield timings, and if you're not prepared, you can again lose the game. This build transitions into mech super easily, and it's the same pattern. If you want to check out a game of that, you can go look at my second channel. It'll be over there. So, thank you for watching. Alright, dudes and dudettes, thank you for holding out and sticking with me. That was a very long time. I wanted to include at the end here a Millennium ForGG versus Liquid Taja build. ForGG played this build out like almost 95% of the time last year in WCS. He used this opening all the frickin' time, and he went into mass Blue Flame Hellion play, which is actually really fun to play out. The video is already long enough, so I don't really have time to cast the entire thing and show you that, but basically, I will include down in the description below a link to this replay, as well as a link to a write-up on his style of the build on Team Liquid, which is really good. The replay for the build will be included down below, and the videos you can expect next will be the Zerg video, but in between that, I'm going to do one more Terran video. It'll be shorter than this, I promise. It's going to be a Banshee opener. Banshees are super, super fun in Terran versus Terran, and I think it's important to learn one aggressive opening, right? We've been doing these really passive, fast expand macro styles. It'll be really fun to start opening with some of that, aggression. So the Banshee video will be next. It won't take that long to get out, and I won't do, 30-minute extravaganza. I think this is the more refined, better, adaptable, flexible build, and I think it's the one that you should definitely know and have in your bag. But it's also nice to have the Banshee build. If you guys have suggestions for me, questions, comments, anything, leave it down below. I appreciate all of you watching. I really, to be honest with you guys and gals, I didn't expect my StarCraft videos to receive this kind of attention. And while I'm very thankful, I want to be very cautious with what I say because I'm just a platinum player, yo. I don't have some great authority, and take what I say as a grain of salt. When you go out there and you play on the ladder, if you're having trouble, try not to blame the build, but try and figure out why you're having trouble against a certain style or what you need to do to change. And I'll try my best to answer your questions. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you next time. BBK Dragoon, out!